Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Jesus Christ. Welcome back to the weekly Armchair Sports Talk podcast. This is United Show. This is Devil's Advocate. I'm your host, Keane, joined by Stu this evening. Also, we'll be joined by Callum in a few minutes as well. Here today to talk all things Manchester United. Originally, today was literally going to be the Crystal Palace preview. We're going to talk about Weghorst. We're going to talk about the derby. We'll talk about Garnacho's contract as well, which is news that came out. But I suppose we're going to go to the biggest breaking news at this moment in time, which is obviously Jim Ratcliffe is up in his interest for a bid to make a bid to take over Manchester United, backed by the Enos Group as well. So that's obviously very, very significant news coming out in the last 2 to 3 hours. Still, I suppose we're here to talk football, which look like we will talk as the show progresses. But I suppose from that breaking news and seeing that it's not just Sir Jim Ratcliffe looking to take over, that it looks like it's going to be him, obviously backed by a consortium. And it looks like, it's the first real serious bid going in since the Glazers have put Man United up for sale. What's your initial thoughts on that situation? And do you think this could set a snowball effect for, I suppose that the amount of bids that could potentially come in the next couple of weeks?
It's it's pretty significant for many reasons, but I would say this: I think it'll be Ineos that buy it. I think it won't be Sir Jim Ratcliffe, and it won't be a consortium. It'll be Ineos that will buy it. He may have smaller investors in there. Lewis Hamilton might put 10 million quid in, which is an irrelevance on the big scheme of things. So it will be Ineos itself that will do it. But two major talking points. First and foremost, as per usual, it's a master stroke by a serious businessman, because he knows that once he even had a conversation with the Rain Group about a bid, he would have known who else was in the running and what they were planning to pay for it, or a roundabout ballpark figure of what the Glazers wanted. Now, when you're up against Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Dubai, etc., you're up against serious money. So you've got to turn the cards in your favour. And what he's trying to do is gain the favour of the fans, so it becomes more of a fan outcry if Sir Jim wasn't to win the bid. It's a great move, very clever, but you're dealing with a serious businessman, a really serious businessman. Secondly, on top of that, there's an even more important person lingering in the background, and that is our good friend Sir Dave Brailsford. And if anyone knows anything about cycling, if you've watched cycling over the past 15 years, 20 years in fact, then you'll know just how game-changing Sir Dave Brailsford has been. Now, he sits on the board of Ineos. He's their sporting director. So Ineos have a sporting director. So he looks after all the sporting activities that come under the Ineos banner. That includes the football, but it also includes the likes of Sir Ben Ainsley. So you're working here, not only you're working with some serious businessmen, you're working with some serious winners, some massively serious winners. And these guys will do everything to win. Now, Sir Dave Brailsford, now look, let's be clear about something. He, Team Sky at the time, which is now Ineos, were kind of accused, and it was kind of proven that they crossed a certain boundary, that it's a no-no in cycling, to maybe win one or two Tour de France's. But that happens in cycling all the time. But it just goes to show the type of personality you're going to have heading up Manchester United, because he will be massively involved. Sir Dave Brailsford. He's also worked alongside Fergie. And if he, a couple of times he's been to Fergie for advice. Fergie has gone the other way to Brailsford for advice. But he's a master of getting the very, very best out of his athletes. You can look at Nice, you can look at Lausanne, and you can look at the other club they're invested in. They're different types of business, completely different types of business. Calling Stu out on his comment on Chelsea right here now. Fair enough.
You can call that out on the next Chelsea stream, Evan, when we do have that on. You can call it out then. This is Man United show right now, Evan, and we will be talking. And then obviously related to cycling, Sean says put Anthony Martial on all the EPO right now. Yeah, I don't think EPO is...
It wasn't EPO. It was a therapeutic exemption. It was basically a congestion that was in I think it was an asthma inhaler. So it wasn't EPO.
Oh, the same alleged thing.
It
that's
was
happening.
alleged. It's kind of been proven, but anyway. Yeah. But look, that he is actually key. So as much as everybody's lauding the Sir Jim Ratcliffe bid, which is brilliant, the actual key areas will be what involvement Brailsford has, because he is a master of detail. Again, if you know anything about cycling, you followed cycling, you'll know what I'm talking about. And the same with Sir Ben Ainsley. If Ben Ainsley ever got involved in the sporting side of Manchester United, these are brilliant people to have on board. You wouldn't get that type of authoritarian figure, that type of figurehead from a sporting perspective if we were to go with Dubai, Saudi Arabia or something. His only problem is going to be the amount of wealth that he's up against. Now, Ineos can back with the best of him. We know they've got annual turnovers of, I think it's something like 60 billion. They'll have investments in the Middle East, obviously, with the nature of their business. But I think it's a brilliant start. I mean, for him, he's not going to get it at $5 billion. There's no two ways about it. He knows he's not going to get it at $5 billion. He's going to kind of... is he still going, is he?
No, Sean, I think Sean is just quoting you. He says, Chelsea are shite, and Stu says it's kind of been proven. Yeah, look, we will address Chelsea on a later stream, but again...
we're not talking Chelsea now, are we?
Yeah.
But, also when you delve deep into his company, he's involved in football in other areas as well. They manufacture certain plastics for footballs themselves. They manufacture plastics and rubbers for 5G pitches, 4G pitches that we've all bring home and your wife goes nuts at on a Monday or a weekend. So they are involved heavily with other football clubs in other areas. I think it's great. But I know why he's doing it. He's doing it now to get the fan base behind him, and it will galvanise. If he can galvanise the fan base, that alone might well be enough to push him over the edge, because they can afford it. There's no two ways about it. They can afford it. They're a hugely important business. They're a hugely profitable business. They've invested heavily in Mercedes Formula One. They own, I think, a third of Mercedes Formula One or something along those lines.
They sponsor Mercedes, who are very successful sporting outfit. Yeah.
I actually think they're invested heavily in it. I think they own a third of Mercedes. That's where the tenuous Lewis Hamilton link is. They own Ineos, the most successful cycling team, albeit mainly under Sky, but they own that. So Trevor's right. He's talking about sunshine and roses. Nice is a different animal to Manchester United, in as much as the league environment that he's dealing with is a different animal to Manchester United. But he will run it as a business. We have to be prepared for that. And he will be looking at getting a return on his investment, or the company will be getting a return on his investment. I
think, if you look at it from that perspective, Stu, I think you have to look at it and say, it's not just Jim Ratcliffe. Look, if this was Jim Ratcliffe on his own buying the club, and look, his net worth 15 billion, you'd be like, okay, this is going to be tough. It's going to be a tough rebuild. But the fact you have Ineos, coming in, I think, potentially coming in, it does set the tone. Look, they're worth 58 billion. Obviously, that I think in that, we don't when you actually think about it, and when you think about it logically, once the club is bought and once the debt's cleared, we only need the club to run off its own income, really, because with the debt and obviously repairing the stadium and stuff like that, that'd be included in the buying price. I dare to say it won't be a case of that'll be done, and that'll be in the whole portfolio of the sale. And in terms of that, so if Jim Ratcliffe lets the club just run within its means and it's not taken till the dividends, they're not lumping £1 billion of debt. Put it this way, right? Jim Ratcliffe is not going to be able to do what the Glazers done, lump 1.5 billion worth of debt on the club and the club not being able to operate within its means. That's not going to happen, number one. Number two, I think you have to look at it. Like, we don't know for sure right now if Jim Ratcliffe is going to be the buyer of the club or Ineos right now. Like, he's the first significant person to really come out and brief the media with their interest. I think this is going to set a snowball effect where you're going to see the guys literally after that report that came out. I'm seeing reports of Dubai. I'm seeing reports of Saudi Arabia. I'm seeing reports of Abu Dhabi. Dubai, not Abu Dhabi, coming out. Like, at the end of the day, like, Sean is quite right when he says, with a massive bidding war, suit United to get the best value. If I was selling the car, I'd love plenty of interest. Is it the same on a larger scale? It is. Any like walk of life, any type of sale, anyone who's selling anything would want to bid more to get it for the best price possible.
100%. Yeah.
Look, at the end of the day, I think with this, ideally, right, if you have Ineos coming in and buying the club and Jim Ratcliffe is the face of it and being a United fan, that's great. But he's obviously not going to be the only person that's going to be there. I dare to say they're going to sack Richard Arnold, probably sack John Murtagh. They'll sack all them people and bring in their own people.
Yeah.
It's going to be a whole different situation. I really hope from this perspective that whoever comes in just respects the history, respects the tradition of the club. And look, at the end of the day, we just get owners who are competent. That's all Manchester United need, is competent owners at the end of the day, because once they'll work within their means, that'll be fine. Now, I get the outcry from, like, I'm seeing a certain section of the fan base right now crying out for Abu Dhabi, crying out for Saudi Arabia, crying out for state-owned ownership, right? And look, I get it. We've seen the success of City. We're seeing how Newcastle have come back. Look, we've seen other clubs, PSG, get state-owned ownership, and it works out, right? Look, and I get it. I really get it. But what Manchester United need is owners who are competent, owners who will just leave who will leave the club alone, leave the club operate the way it is, get the right football and people in there to have a proper plan in there, and we'll be fine. Like, that's the way I really do look at it, because the Glazers, like, put it this way. Now, I speak to Phil Brown. To be fair, people know that joke that I had about all the United merch in my basket. And obviously that hurts them online. Yeah. No, I'll actually do what? To be fair, if the Glazers leave, I've no problem buying the legit United gear at the end of the day. I've absolutely no problem with it. I'd be like Toy off AFTV once the Glazers leave. I will literally have everybody United gear. And the tracksuits, jerseys, fucking hats, fucking stationery, you name it, I'll have it. But look, I think it's a case of we just need to see competent owners come in, let the club operate within.
I think Keane might have drifted off there.
I think my connection went.
Oh,
can you still still?
Yeah, you're back now. I can hear you now.
Yeah, I think my connection just went there for a second. I don't know what that was. But yeah, like I was saying, I think, look, we just need competent owners, Joe, who will just allow us to operate within our means and get the proper people in there, to obviously let the football club operate the way it should. In that case,
I mean, the interesting thing, Keane, is that there's going to be a huge bidding war now. There is going to be. It was always going to be brinkmanship. Who was going to blink first? And once that party blinked, so Ineos had blinked, because don't forget the statement came from Ineos themselves, not Sir Jim. It came from Ineos. So as soon as somebody blinks, everyone else then has got to blink. And so the Glazers are now back in Florida, or Avram in, I think he's in Switzerland, isn't he? Absolutely brilliant. They're just doing this, the Glazers are now, because it's like, just bring me the money, show me the money. And that's how it's going to be. Here's the pivotal thing, though. And he also set a value of the club and change. So what I mean by change is the stadium redevelopment, etc., etc. They'll have a cut-off point. And whatever that cut-off point is, they won't go beyond it, because they've done their calculations from a financial perspective, whether it's worth it or not. Unfortunately, when you're dealing with somebody who's got trillions in their back pocket the Middle Eastern, they'll cut off could be 13 billion. They could have calculated 13 billion is fine. We want to buy the club for 10.5 billion all in. That includes stadium redevelopment, because whoever, and you are right, whoever puts a bid in is going to have to add on stadium, either brand new stadium or stadium redevelopment.
Stadium redevelopment, debt, rebuilding the training ground. That's literally just 3 things off the top of my head. That's before you even think about transfers.
Yeah, well, there's 3 to 4 billion then straight away, because if the reports are true, that it's either 1.5 to redevelop or 2 billion to rebuild, you're going to rebuild. You won't bother spending 1.5 redeveloping, or even a billion redeveloping. It's just, what a complete waste of cash. You will rebuild. So they will know all this. Saudi Arabia will know it. Dubai will know it. So Jim Ratcliffe will know, or Ineos will know all of this, because they're serious people. But it's whether or not it goes over the Ineos threshold. So I go back to what I was saying earlier. So Jim Ratcliffe coming out is 2 things. A, it's going to start the bidding war, but B, he's trying to galvanise support early doors. We want Sir Jim, we want Sir Jim, we want Sir Jim, we want Sir Jim. Now, there are a lot of the fan base, that will want Middle Eastern ownership, because they'll just want to do one over City and stuff of that nature. But do we as a club want to fall into the trap of state ownership? Do we as a club not really care about human rights? Do we not care where the money comes from? Are we just, as fans, just happy to sit back and just watch this come? Now, we know how arrogant City fans are. 10 years ago, they weren't. We know how arrogant they are now. You get any City fan on and he'll just talk about, oh, United are this, United are that. But did we really want to kind of get into bed with those morons? And the same with PSG. Newcastle, not so much. And Newcastle at the minute are playing everything brilliantly. Amanda Staveley's gone in there. She's a good figurehead, and she's really steadied that ship. And she's kind of turning Newcastle into a club that people admire again. We must be that club. If we are going to be state owned, we must be, as you quite rightly say, Keane, work on our own volition, get the debt sorted, get the stadium sorted separately, set up a separate company to do the stadium, and set up a separate company, to do the training ground, and just keep Manchester United flowing. It is Manchester United. He's right. Trevor's right. We're selling the souls, and we are. We all moaned about Qatar, the World Cup in Qatar, about human rights out there, etc., etc., etc. So, are we going to be hypocritical? Are we going to be?
Look, I think it's the way I look at it is, at the moment, it's a very grey area that we're in, especially if state ownership comes in. Now, look, at the end of the day, what I said, and I'll maintain, is I think, look, I'll accept any new owner that comes in once they've good intentions. That's the way I look at it. Now, at the end of the day, will I become a dickhead about it? No, I won't, because we've had the Glazers. We've had, a lot of pain in the last 17 years. And I think if the state owners come in, they have to respect the history, the tradition of the club. And they'll have to respect the fans' wishes. They'll have to communicate with groups like the 1958. They'll have to get the right people in there to do that. They'll have to communicate with the fans, like match-going fans every week. Like, the way I look at it right now is, whoever comes in is going to have to rebuild the relationship. See people like the Manchester United Supporters Trust, they can fuck off, because they've been in the bed with the Glazers, since they've been in there, and they haven't represented the fan base the way they should be. Because if you look at the work the 58 have done, in, let's say, not even from August, from April last year up until now, they've been the most transparent, and they've done the most fan protests since then, and they've laid out information about it the whole way through. You look at like Manchester United Supporters Trust, they were meant to have get the fan share scheme in with the Glazers. That never happened. They're happy to have 1 or 2 people on the board, just so they can have their monthly Zoom meetings. It's for me, whoever does come in, there's going to have to be like new fan representation. There's going to have to be new people on the Manchester United board. They're like this can't, like, the way I look at it is, it has to be revamped from top to bottom, and that's from the fan side and also from the club. Because I think the yes men are in there right now. They all have to go. Every single last one of them.
I agree with you to an extent. I really do, and I think your thoughts are really noble. I echo what you say about the 58 group, in particularly. I wasn't over enamoured when they first hit the scene, so to speak, but I've been really impressed with how they've gone about it and how their protests have been kept peaceful, and how they've just kept pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. And I think they're instrumental into getting where we are today with the Glazers. I really do. So all credit to them. Absolutely brilliant. And you're absolutely right about Must. So Must come out, the supporters just come out and say, right, we must engage with your new owners and we must have this, and this. Well, I'm going to tell you now, dude, if I'm putting 10 billion up cash, Must, you can go and fuck right off. I've put 10 billion pounds into buying this club. I am not going to be dictated to by a supporters group. I will have dialogue with a supporters group, but I won't be dictated to. So you're absolutely right, Keane, in that there must be communication between the new owners, but there's going to be communication to very limited, because anyone, like I say, if you put 10 billion quid in, Keane, right, it doesn't matter where it's come from. And are you going to let Must dictate to you? No chance. It's how it's done. If it's done correctly and say, look, there needs to be a gap. There needs to be somebody in between. So there needs to be somebody at the club, whoever it may be. Yeah, there needs to be somebody at the club, whoever it may be, right, who is that liaison between the club and the fans. And that's where they talk. And then he goes back to the club and say, or she, this is what we want. I agree with the fan advisory board. It can be done separately again. It can be just done separately away from Manchester United. So fan advisory board can meet from all different walks of life, one or two representatives from the club, and then they go and they talk and they discuss. They give the club's viewpoint and the fans give the viewpoint, and then they go back to the club and they discuss it. The way that it's done now is so fragmented. It's a bit disjointed. It's almost as if it was set up just to appease certain people. That can't happen moving forward. It's got to be a proper advisory board where fans are elected onto the board, and then the representation from Manchester United has to be senior level and a sub-senior level, so a top director and a sub-director, so that information then can be pushed through. Is he back? Yeah, he's back. Information.
Yeah, I don't know. It's really playing up. I don't know what's going on.
That's all right.
I can hear you now.
Pushed through, listened, and then acted upon. But you can't have the Must dictating what's going to happen, because somebody who's put 10 billion quid down on the table will just do that to them. Because I would. Yeah. I would. You're not telling me what I'm going to do. I've just spent 10 billion quid here. I go back to what I was saying before. With this type of money that you're talking about, okay, you are talking about serious businessmen, serious businessmen, serial winners in what they do. You need somebody, and please don't have a go at me here, but you need somebody like Abramovich. The way that he ran Chelsea was phenomenal. And I think we'd all agree that. I don't think anyone would have a bad word to say about how Abramovich ran Chelsea. He got them going, and then he stepped away, didn't he? He got them going. He got the right people in, and then he stepped away. Look at the sorry, fella, Evan, but look at the state that Chelsea are in right now as compared to where Abramovich was. That's what we've got to be very, very, very careful about.
Yeah.
We have to be massively careful about it. And if Must are going to talk to them about it, then you must kind of like have a proper dialogue. No, none of this, you must do this, you must do that bollocks. You've got to have proper dialogue. And so I hope that kind of happens. And where's Evan? I'm not going to go at Chelsea, pal, tonight. I'm just saying, I'm just talking about ownership here, mate. I'm not talking about anything else. We can get into that.
I think Evan is gone anyway. He hasn't come in a while there. Oh, right. But yeah, look, I totally agree. Look, it has to be structured perfectly. And I think the way it is, you have to have the right people in place, like on the pitch, off the pitch, and also with fan advisory boards as well. And that's why I've said like groups like 58 have been so transparent in this last 12 months. Where you look at Must, transparency does not fucking exist to them. And to be fair, like look, they've already blocked me because I've called them out on this shit anyway already, and I don't give a fuck if they come at me again over it, because like they've been useless, and that's just an absolute fact. But we'll move on from the ownership situation, Stu, because obviously look, play out. There was football on the weekend, and I actually haven't got a chance to talk to anybody about it. But still, I was at the game Saturday, the Derby. Unbelievable. Brilliant result for United. Brilliant game. Brilliant atmosphere. Old Trafford was absolutely rocking. I know you're on the reaction. You discussed it, but when you take into consideration, when you look back in the game a couple of days later, what were your overall thoughts on Manchester United's performance over that 90 minutes? Because for me, I was just absolutely delighted with it.
Well, my lad was buzzing. Absolutely. He phoned me directly after. I was on the reaction, and my lad was phoning me, Dad, did you see it? What a game. And he was absolutely buzzing. There's a couple of things that I took out of the game. First and foremost, was the first time that I've really seen Ten Hag's tactics really come into play. How he stifled City in the first half was phenomenal. The way that we pushed their fullbacks back. And if you recall the way that City play, they like to push at least one of their fullbacks into centre midfield.
Yeah, into midfield, fullbacks,
Couldn't do it in the first half. Just couldn't do it the way that we played. The second half, City played a very, very intelligent game of football. Now, anyone who loves football like we all do, you've got to take your hat off to Guardiola, the way that he tried to push on and really stifle us to an extent. So much so that they ran the show for early parts of the second half. Casemiro, certainly for about 20, 25 minutes of the second half, was really struggling. His anticipation wasn't quite right. His passion was taken over his intelligence, which I haven't seen with Casemiro before, because he's just a wonderful, wonderful player. Having said that, Keane, he was still streets ahead of everybody else on that pitch. But if you know what I mean by sometimes he was a bit rash in possession. He's a bit rash with his position. I've never seen that from him before. But it's that will to win that he's got. It's infectious. So much so that they got one real chance where De Bruyne managed to break the shackles of Fred, and he put in a delicious cross. He put so much backspin on it. People having a right go at Wan-Bissaka, saying he was out of position. What he was doing, he couldn't. The ball was too high because of the backspin.
Yeah.
So there's no way in a million years he was going to get back and make a challenge for it. And it just so happened that we let Grealish free, and Grealish comes in and scores a quite a simple header, really, but it was a lovely move.
Yeah,
that woke us up again. That completely woke us up. The introduction of Garnacho was phenomenal. Now, I've been a critic of Garnacho, as you well know. He thinks quicker than the ball can move quicker than he thinks, but he's kind of got himself sorted. Somebody really had a word with him, a go with him, whatever you want, and said to him, look, next time you take that pitch, you've got to start thinking, fella. Once you get into that area, you've got to start using your brain, because you're not using your brain. You get in there, but nothing's happening. You've got to deliver. A fair play to the kid, he did. And he changed everything. He started pushing Walker back. And so that meant Cancelo was trying to get in, but Cancelo couldn't get into the middle of the park. So once Garnacho came and started pushing Walker back, we retook control of the game. Wan-Bissaka didn't allow Foden to have a kick in the first half, hence he was hooked. I didn't see Erling Haaland at all on the pitch. I don't know about you. I think he might have had 2 touches.
I think he's still in Luke Shaw's pocket right now, by the way.
Absolutely phenomenal. Phenomenal, Luke Shaw and Varane. What a partnership that's turning out to be. Who'd have thought that? As we sit today, who'd have thought that? But anyway, that's another story. Wan-Bissaka has suddenly grown again. He's had some miracle grow in his plant pot, and he's suddenly grown as a player again. He's been superb. And he was instrumental working with Casemiro, working with Bruno, working with Eriksen at times. And Eriksen was very, very quiet because he was stifled with the Fred-Casemiro partnership because Bruno had to play up as one of the front three, which pushed Eriksen forward. I didn't think Eriksen as big an influence on the game as he would normally have do if Fred wasn't in.
Do you know what it is, Stu? The only we brought on Garnacho and watching it from the stands. Like Bruno done well out wide, but when he went back in when he actually Ten Hag put Bruno false 9 and Bruno was dropping into the little pockets.
Exactly.
And, Rashford and Garnacho were kind of playing his inside forwards. And when that happened, we took so much more control of the game. Everything was going through Fernandes. Every time he got the ball, he was making things happen. Do you know? Whereas in the first half, he was playing diagonals from the right wing. Do you know what I mean? He was playing them type of passes. But
And
when he
they
went
had
central, it was in
yeah,
between in the lines.
and they had to do that because of Eriksen's presence on the pitch,
Yeah,
unfortunately. And so you take and by the way, I called on the previous show, if you remember. I knew they'd play Fred. I
yeah.
thought
I
they'd play
said it
Fred.
that week as well.
Yeah, and I understood why they would play Fred. It made perfect sense. But
Yeah.
we've realised moving forward you can't have the two. So you've got to make a sacrifice, Eriksen or Bruno, for that if you're going to play Fred
In
and
the big
Casemiro.
games, in the
Yeah,
big games, I think, like, you know, like, I think I said this to Shane, and me and Shane had a bit of a disagreement on this a while ago before the first derby. I was like, look, in the big games, I think in certain games against certain teams, we can accept that we're going to have less of the ball, and you play a Casemiro McTominay or a Casemiro he said McFred, Casemiro Fred midfield, and then have Fernandez in front of him.
McFred, crikey, don't give me a heart attack.
Oh
The
yeah,
thing is, and I've always said this, as you well know, you only need 1% of the ball as long as you score
yeah,
more goals than the opposition. It's an irrelevance. Something I was going to mention Malacia, mate. I just haven't got there yet. But what I
yeah,
want to talk about is the goal that everyone's talking about. The swift play between Wan-Bissaka, Casemiro, and the ball across to Rashford. When people are going on about, oh, he's offside, he didn't touch it, he's still offside, he's interfering with play, blah, blah, blah. When you listen to Akanji, when you actually listen to what Akanji said, and I bet, by the way, that Guardiola absolutely wiped the floor with Akanji when he got in. What he says in public and what I think he would have said in private are two completely different things. Because if I'm Akanji, okay, and I've played for the offside, which he did, he stopped for that split second, which gave Rashford that split second movement. I'm not going to go and say, well, you play to the whistle, blah, 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 blah. Any of that, it doesn't really matter. The thing about Akanji was, if you believed he was offside, why the fuck didn't you tug him back? Because I would have tugged Rashford back and said, well, the flag's up, it's offside. You've got to take your chances in football, okay? And Rashford, was he shielding it? I don't think so. Akanji, in my opinion, was never getting there. He was
But
never getting there.
if you're shielding the ball, you're using your arms, you're making your body bigger. Rashford didn't do that. Rashford actually went like that. He didn't do that. Like, he wasn't, like, you know, like I play centre half or right back, left back. Shielding the ball, you use your arms, so you use your body shape, you adjust your body. Rashford actually done that. That was Rashford's stance.
I play centre half, and I would have
Yeah,
grabbed Rashford. I would have grabbed his arm.
yeah.
Okay, and I would have pulled him down, and I'd have made the ref make a decision. Okay, that's what you do. You don't risk it. You don't leave it. The goal wasn't offside. It just wasn't offside because the Kanji was never getting there, and nor was Kyle Walker, by the way. Kyle Walker wasn't getting there. The goal was a perfectly good goal. It was a legal goal, and people can argue the toss all they like, but when you're in there and you're in the thick of the game and you're a Kanji, you're the one that's made the mistake, not Rashford. Pull him back. If you think it's offside, pull him back and wait for the ref to make a decision. It's a perfectly good goal. Perfectly good goal.
Bruno Fernandez was very switched on to tell Rashford to leave that as well.
They were both switched on. They were both massively switched on, and this is the bone of contention for everybody around, because people are saying, "Well, if it happened to you, you'd be pissed." Football's football.
Look at the amount of decisions we've got against us in the last 12 months.
Football's
Do you know
football.
what I mean?
It's an irrelevance. If it goes against you, it goes against you. If it doesn't, it doesn't. It's just the way that it is. But Akanji made the error for me. If Akanji, not played for the offside, number one, and number two, once he realised that the flag wasn't going up, you commit a foul. Just take the booking. Just do everything you can to stop Rashford going. And he wouldn't have got sent off anyway, Akanji, because Kyle Walker and Bruno were almost side by side, weren't they? So just you take the player out. And the other interesting thing I thought was quite interesting. They were saying about the position of Ederson. Now, to me, Ederson should, if Ederson, and where you think about where that ball is, Ederson should have been coming out to clean Rashford out.
Yeah.
Ederson was too far back. He got chipped against Southampton for being in no man's land, and he was in no man's land again when Rashford and Bruno were both attacking the ball. So I think it's their issue.
Yeah, it's a
personally.
Man City issue. And also, when you think about it as well, you look at Ederson's last couple of games, Man City have sold their young keeper, Bazunu, to Southampton, who's actually one of the best keepers in the league this season. And
Yeah.
I'm so happy he's Ireland #1 right now because he is outstanding. I wouldn't be surprised because City have a buyback clause if they get him back in there long term.
I think they'll get it back in. And the other thing, by the way, and after that, by the way, you can tell City were rattled by it, and they, and they couldn't quite whatever. They can moan and all they like, but that was it. That 5 minutes of
Their heads
mayhem
were gone.
for City was great for us because Garnacho then was just going bang, 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 and that's it. It was just you tell me a player that frightens Kyle Walker. Nobody frightens Kyle Walker.
Maybe that's about it.
Maybe Mbappe, but I tell you something, Garnacho gave him nightmares. He actually gave Kyle Walker nightmares. He gave Aki nightmares. Aki's still sliding where he flipped him and turned him. That's brilliant thinking by a young 18-year-old that's been told, that's been spoken to by somebody within the club and said, look, you have to deliver. Lovely little ball. I tell you, if Rashford doesn't make it, I think, was it Fred behind him? He was behind him.
Yeah.
Was
Could
Fred?
have been Fred or Anthony.
Anthony, Anthony, somebody was going to tap it in. Either way, Rashford scores or whoever it was behind us. It was a brilliant, brilliant goal. I was so chuffed.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was dancing around. The missus is like, what are you doing?
I nearly went 2 rows forward when the goal was scored. Amy was a few rows up for me. I was sitting beside this couple, and literally, I was grabbed into their fucking, into their.
It was
celebrating, and it was crazy.
And I love the fact that City fans are dying and crying, and Chelsea fans are dying and crying, and Liverpool fans are crying about it, and everyone's crying about it. And Guardiola came out with the usual, well, you know where we're playing, don't you? That kind of bollocks. It was
look, they're all rattled right now. Look, I haven't seen a goal get this much coverage ever in the last 4 days. It's been ridiculous. But where's this energy when Duncan Watmore handballed it when Middlesbrough scored? Where is this energy? When Neymar scored the offside goal in the Champions League a couple of years ago, when PSG's player was interfering with play and he was offside and Neymar wasn't offside and Neymar scored, where was the energy then? But because it's Manchester United, because Manchester United get the most clickbait, Manchester United get the most clout, that's why the likes of TalkSport are doing it. I'm going to say TalkSport specifically because Sky Sports, to be fair to them, got referees in, they got experts in.
You did, yeah.
When you look at TalkSport, they've Jermaine Pennant, the man who cheats on his wife, on the show. They've Gabby Abon-Lahore on there, who is crap, just one of the worst pundits out there you'll ever see in your life. Like literally the bottom of the fucking barrel, people analysing it, whose childhoods and careers were ruined by Sir Alex Ferguson's Manchester United. But look, I'm not going to get into that because people know, anyone who follows me on Twitter knows what I think about that platform. They're literally the son of broadcasting. That's literally what TalkSport are.
Yeah, they are. But the old adage in football is, look, you never stop in football. You never stop, because if you stop, right, then you're allowing the officials to make the decision. You've got to take it out of the officials' hands. And so what? If Akanji gets sent off, okay, just hypothetically, so fucking what? Teams play with 10 men all the time. Because, I mean, crikey, to be fair, City were playing with 8 players, weren't they? Because Haaland was a passenger. There's a couple of passengers.
Mahrez was in Malassia's pocket.
So, yeah, I was about to say this. Summy was talking about Malassia. Malassia was absolutely brilliant. He was a little bit overzealous on occasions, but he did exactly what a fullback should do against their winger. Absolutely clatter him until you get a ref saying, "I'm watching you now, pal." Then you take a step back, but you keep clattering him.
It was Ever-esque. It was Patrice Ever-esque, that performance.
Amazing. Mahrez was looking over his shoulder every time he got the ball. Where's Malassia? Bang. I'm on the deck. Bang. I'm on the deck. It was brilliant. It was a great performance from Malassia, and people were asking about what did we think about Luke Shaw. Well, it's difficult to actually put my finger on how good Luke Shaw's playing at the minute. I don't know. I can't quite
I
put
was
my
speaking
finger
to
on. It's
I was
absolutely.
speaking to a couple of non-United fans today, and they were saying like Luke Shaw right now, team of the season. Like
Oh,
that's
100%.
non-United fans today.
Yes.
Like look, he's been brilliant. But look, we will move away from the derby because like obviously like look, we've done the match reaction. Anyone who hasn't seen it at the end of the show, definitely do go check it out. We've 15 minutes left in the stream, so I'm conscious we've a bit to get through before obviously we wrap up. Quick thoughts on Garnato's contract. It was reported today that United offered him 25 grand a week. What are your thoughts? Do you think that contract is a low ball and offer, considering he's probably one of the best hot prospects in football right now?
No, I don't. I think it's 10 grand too much, if I'm being brutally honest with you. You're 18 years old, you're given a platform, you have to make a decision at 18. And your only decision at 18 is, do I want to play football? Am I at the best place? Or do I want to earn a contract now? And unfortunately, if you reject a 25 grand a week contract, you're not interested in football, you're interested in your back pocket. That kid is talented enough. If I'm his agent and I'm the board at Manchester United, I'm talking about this particular contract, he's probably getting something like 10 grand a goal or something along those lines, maybe 5 grand an assist or something like that. But I'm saying to him, you've not proved anything yet. If it's money you're after, go somewhere else. The way that Ten Hag is restructuring our club, because look, footballers' wages have needed neutralising for the last 10 years. Somebody's got to neutralise salary. On Manchester United, the first big club to neutralise salary. Somebody was saying to me, if you're only going to offer your top players 200 grand a week, and Real Madrid coming at 350, they're just going to go to Real Madrid. Well, fair enough. Go to Real Madrid then. That's up to you. We're not interested.
What I'd interject with this is, Stu, and I'll be honest about this. The reason why I think you should get more, and I'll be brutal about this, that there's a lot, like he's one of the best young prospects in football, I think. And if we don't tie him down to a respectable deal, for me, my worry would be with this is, he leaves and then United are, in a couple of years' time, they're paying 100, 200 million for, we could end up with another Paul Pogba situation.
I don't think he leaves. I don't think he leaves, Keane. I think he takes 25 grand a week. I think if his agent's smart and the people around him who are smart, he will take that type of money.
The only thing about it is, as well, is like the likes of Brandon Williams are on 50 grand a week. Players who aren't getting games. So I think that's like when you measure like players of similar age on more money, lesser players. Now you can say Williams' contract was during the Woodward era. You can definitely say that 100%. But here's the thing: you look at other like prospects at his age in world football right now, right? They're going to be on more money in 25 grand a week. Now I understand salary caps and stuff like that. Now I'm not saying he should be on 100, 200 grand a week. I'm not saying that at all by any stretch of the imagination. But what I will say is, we can't afford to lose him because there's a restructuring. I get that. But there has to be, I think, look, he has to be on something that's respectable, but then put performance-based incentives in there. Like you said, a certain amount of goals you score.
I fully follow you. I do follow you. I really do.
Yeah.
Let me add a note of caution. There is a certain player who plays in yellow in Germany that isn't on anywhere near the amount of money that you would think. But he will.
Who's say that? Is that
Jude Bellingham? He's not on anywhere near, not anywhere near the amount of money that people would think. He really isn't. Nowhere near the amount of money. But he will be. If he moves in the summer, whoever he goes to, he will be on that bracket. For me at the minute, and I really 100% agree with you about the risk of losing him, but I think you'll know the type of personality. You're dealing with a personality now. You're talking to a young guy, you're talking to a kid of 18 years old, you're looking him in the eye, and you're looking for a personality. You're looking for a winner. And if his agent is in there going, you know what, 25 ain't enough, we want this because this, and this, I think you're dealing with the wrong manager. I think you're dealing with the wrong manager in Ten Hag. I think Ten Hag's going to say, you're not there yet, mate. You've got to just take your time, because you know as well as I do, in 12 months' time, if Garnacho keeps going like he's going, okay, he'll be rewarded. He will be. I think 25 grand is more than enough for the kid. But I take your point. I do. And salary is all subjective, isn't it, as well?
Yeah, it
Salary is
is.
all about subjective.
Yeah, it is. And look, again, like if he continues this form, I think we'd have to give him something
I agree.
significant.
He will be on good bonuses. I'd imagine his 25 grand a week basic. He will be on a really good package of bonuses and things of that nature. I would say that's what it would be. Don't forget though, and people again probably don't kind of understand this. He's probably already on an appearance fee of about 5 grand.
Yeah.
Every time he takes the field, he's getting about 5 grand. De Gea is probably getting about 30 grand as an appearance fee. This all gets written into the contract. So we're all just seeing basic salary. He probably could earn 50 grand a week, probably comfortably, throughout appearances and goals or the way that he assists and things of that nature. But I would like to see us be smarter now.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
To be fair, though, Stu, I've done a bit of research while we're on here, and he actually isn't out of contract until we took our option of 1 year out. He isn't out of contract the next season. So, like, look, I suppose we can temper with it now. But yeah, like, look, it's one of them. Look, if he keeps going the way he's going, we can definitely improve his terms. And look, I'd have no problem with it. Now, you look at Rashford at the minute.
Yeah, sorry.
Like, you look at Rashford at the moment. If he looks for a new contract and improved terms, I'm like, right, you've proven it already. You're one of the best left wingers in world football right now. PSG are coming around. Definitely improve your terms, 100%, because he's proven it. He's done it. He's
agreed.
And look, he's done what the manager wants him to do. And look, he's one of the best players in the world right now. Right now, he is on current form. Like, I think the Garnacho thing is different. I do think still that we have to err on the side of caution with it. When you have the likes of Real Madrid, Juventus, like Todd Bowley is sniffing around at the minute with him. You know the way Todd Bowley, he offers ridiculous amounts of money. Now, whatever you think about him, that it is what it is. But when there's clubs like that and there's money like that involved, you do, as a club, have to be diligent. But at the same time, you have to avoid situations like Paul Pogba. That's the big, like, we have to look at that Paul Pogba thing and think, right, do Man United put our egos aside and say, right, look, maybe we're slightly overpaying him by 10 or 20 grand, but not by 100 grand here. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you max out at 40 grand. That, to me, that's the way you would max out it, is at 40 grand. You don't go to the 50, you max out the 40. But he's got to, imagine though, and Manchester United's challenge here is, and I don't think it'll happen under Ten Hag anyway, because he won't allow complacency, but we've seen it before, haven't we? Sean's made a great point about Mo Salah. He's 350 grand a week, and he's completely not the same player. Do you remember when Aubameyang and Ozil both signed 350 grand week contracts?
Lex Sanchez when he came to United as well.
Yeah, problems. David De Gea, when he signed that 350 grand a week one, he had a real dip in form for 2 years, 3 years. It does happen, and these guys are right. And they're talking about Bellingham, for example. His next contract will be 200 grand a week. Absolutely. Absolutely. They'll have to pay 150 million quid for him, whoever goes for him, or 120 million, but he will be on 200 grand a week. If we treat Garnacho not the same as the way that Bellingham, because Dortmund aren't huge payers anyway. We know all this. I don't think even Marco Reus is on a huge amount out there. He's on about 70 or 80 grand, which in the big scheme of things is nothing. Just bide your time. And I just hope his agents or his parents are looking at it and saying, stay put. Because I know Todd Bowley's sniffing around him. You wouldn't go to Juventus today, would you, really?
What's going on? Definitely not.
Yeah. And I don't think you go to PSG. Real Madrid. Because if I went to Real Madrid, I'd just point Martin Odegaard to him. Look at the player Martin Odegaard is today. And Real Madrid had him at 15, paid him 80 grand a week at 16, 80 grand a week. shoved him in their B team or whatever it's called, and now he's one of the best operators in the Premier League. And what did Arsenal pay? 30 million quid for him?
Yeah,
they
got a bargain for that one.
Yeah, they did. Oh, absolute bargain. He's a tremendous player. So there are areas and players you should really look at and say, look, let's just stay. We're comfortable. We're happy. Whether he does or not, who knows? But if I was going to his agent, I'd be trying to play the long game here rather than the short game. What's the point in getting a shitload of money now and him not performing in 5 years and then his value just drops? That's what happened with Odegaard.
Yeah, that could happen. I think that's a very.
I'm not saying it will. It could, but that's just the way that I view it.
It could, he could, he could very well. That could happen. He could go on that trajectory, especially if you went to like someone like Real Madrid, where you're behind Vinicius Junior, Rodrigo, players like that.
Look at Rodrigo. Where's Rodrigo now?
On the bench. And he's a fantastic player.
Exactly. But look what Trevor's right about Odegaard. He wasn't a finished article. He's absolutely right. But Real Madrid had no patience for the kid. Well, look at him now. Arsenal would get back. What would Arsenal get back for Odegaard today? Right now, currently. What would they get? 80?
100 million. 100 million right now.
There you go. Arsenal invested.
They trebled their investment, definitely 100%. On that. But look, it'd be interesting to see now, especially look, if it is 2024 that ends, then look, we do have a bit of leeway right now at the minute anyway.
I think it's a good move to move in and time down. I absolutely agree, by the way. I think it's the right move to time down, but they've got to be. I think you'll see a more sensible approach with Manchester United moving forward. I quite like what Ten Hag did, because I said players' wages need neutralising now. And the funny thing about it is, although you couldn't do it, but players, clubs with brains could have saved themselves millions and millions and millions and millions, 10 years ago by, look, players want to come to Man United, they want to go to Barcelona, Real Madrid, AC Milan at the time, Juventus, Liverpool, maybe Chelsea, not City, and said, look, here's our salary, this is our top salary, this is what we'll all pay. We want you to play for us because you want to play for us, not because we're putting 20 million a year in your bank in your bank account. But unfortunately, football isn't wide like that, are they? They're just nuts.
Yeah,
Look at Todd Bowley. Look at Todd Bowley. Look at him, clown.
We leave that where it is because Mark and Sean do have a show coming up soon.
I bet Mark's looking forward to that one.
Yeah, there's been a bit of discussion between the two of them that they will be doing a show very soon on not just Chelsea, but also Man United as well. They will be talking United stuff as well. But look, we've Crystal Palace tomorrow. Obviously, massive game. Look, I suppose we'll pick a starting 11. For tomorrow, we give our score predictions as well. I'll give my 11 there first. I personally go David De Gea in goal. Obviously, Jack Butland is ineligible. Obviously he's on loan, so obviously he's ineligible. I think it'll be Wan-Bissaka. We'll have Wan-Bissaka, Varane, Martinez. I think Martinez will come back in as centre back tomorrow. Because when you're going to put him back in there, I think tomorrow will be an ideal day. I think actually Luke Shaw will be on the bench. Will be Malacia left back. Because I think Luke Shaw will be kind of kept on ice for Arsenal on the weekend. A lot of people are saying, do you rest Casemiro? Do you start Casemiro? I start Casemiro because, at the end of the day, we have to take it on a game-by-game basis. We can't let this form, we can't afford for it to slip. And I think, look, as much as the title race is talk right now, I think Ten Hag will know it's still on a game-by-game basis. And Palace are a good team. Selhurst Park is a tough place to go. So I think Casemiro starts. I do think we'll get a midfield too then with Eriksen and Bruno as well in front of him. We'll have to try to control the game there and take it to him. I think that's who will play there. Front three, I'm going to go with a three of Anthony, Rashford and Weghorst will play. I think Weghorst will play from the start, simply because Martial came off with injury the other day. And also Martial was crap on Saturday. Absolutely crap. Kept taking too many touches. The few of the people I was sitting around the ground were saying, the first and second touch were great. was that third touch. He didn't release it. He took the third touch, lost the ball. And that was so frustrating. Like, his movement off the ball was actually great to watch. Like, his anticipation. But it was just, he wasn't getting it out of his feet, early enough. And I can see why Ten Hag wants a player like Weghorst, like a target man up front, who will take 2 touches, lay it off, and go in behind, or press from the front, and get himself about. And I think that's why I think Weghorst will start for that very reason at Selhurst Park, considering when you have of Anderson and Guehi at centre back, I do think, who are great, by the way. I think Weghorst will start with the two of them. And I actually think Weghorst signing will bring the best out of Anthony, because the way he'll bring Anthony into play, and the fact Anthony will have a focal point to have that early crossing to him. Rashford, I think, as well. I think Rashford and Anthony and a return in Jadon Sancho will all benefit from him being up front. So I think he'll make players around him play better. Now, he mightn't be the serial goal scorer like people think he's going to be, but I do think Weghorst will start up front, just because of where we're going and that physical nature they have at the back. I think he will start. I think Anthony Martial won't be played. I think he may actually play Sunday if he's fit, because the way his record against Arsenal is quite good, and the way he plays will probably suit the Arsenal game a bit more. But for me, that'd be my 11. I do think that's what Ten Hag may go with. Now, I could be wrong, but that's what I go with.
I don't disagree too much with that. I'm leaning towards I'm leaning towards a Maguire-Martinez partnership, because they're not a threat up front. Palace, they don't score goals. I've just got this feeling that it's really.
Perhaps Varane and Cotton Wool for Sunday.
I do, yeah. I don't think he'll risk Varane against a tough away one with like Palace, and I think you're right. I don't think Luke Shaw plays. I think he wants Shaw and Varane in on Sunday.
Yeah, I think with the fact that one thing is heavily influencing the Luke Shaw inclusion in the big games is, the fact that Martinez is going to be out for that first leg against Barcelona, and he'll want to play against good strikers.
I agree. So I'm kind of going with you on that one. And I think Malacia, I agree. I think Casemiro starts. I'd play him for 60, 65 minutes just to see where we are in terms of.
Hopefully he doesn't get carded and we take him off for McTominay or something at that point.
If he gets carded, he gets carded. It's football. I'm sorry. People say put him in card. It's football. It's football.
You have to take it game by game. Like that's what they said. You have to take it.
Which means that I also agree that it will be Eriksen. I think it'll be Bruno. And I do agree with your top, your front three. I think Weghorst gets a start. I think he's going to want him playing some Premier League football before Arsenal on Sunday. I think it'd be Rashford, and I think you're absolutely right. It'll be Anthony. So that's where my thought process is taking me. I don't know. I could be wrong, but I just think it's going to be Maguire Martinez. I think he's got problems in as much as this game. We're just having too many games, and we said this. We played last Tuesday. We're playing this Wednesday. We played at the weekend. It's tough. It's really tough. That's what I mean, Palace. That's why I'm saying they've only scored 17 goals. So I've got a feeling that our two centre halves aren't as critical, if that makes sense. This game, I think it's providing we can get at them. Having said that, though, they're a tough nut. They're a tough nut to crack. Palace. It won't be easy.
Vieira has been well organised.
I think we only win the game 1-0. I don't think we get more than one. I think we win the game 1-0. It could well be a smash and grab as well, but I don't see them scoring against us.
I could see it being Weghorst holding up the ball and slotting Rashford in, something like that. Do you know what I mean? Something like that.
I do. I really think it's going to be a very, very tight game. Rich, I'd love it to be 3-1, pal. I really would. I think we need, and we could so much do with an easier game, because whether people like it or not, and I know Tottenham came in, but Arsenal was so resilient against Spurs on Sunday. It was untrue. I mean, it was so resilient. They got two good goals, really good goals. Arsenal did,
To be fair, if you look at that second half, like Spurs gave it to him, and Ramsdale was really good in goal. Ramsdale was very good centre half second half.
He was superb, Ramsdale. And
so like, look, I think we're going to have to be on top form to win on Sunday. But look, that is something. Friday we will be discussing.
Arsenal got a week off, haven't they?
Yeah, they'll have a week off, so they'll have a full week to prepare for us. But look, we're not going to make any excuses.
No. This is why I think he's got to make changes. That we've got to do something. We can't. These guys, because if he keeps playing these players now, we are going to fall off at the end of the season. It's going to happen.
Happened under Solskjaer, didn't it? When we played,
it did. You've got to play. You've got to trust in these footballers. You've got to trust. Maguire was excellent at the World Cup. You've got to trust in them. You've just got to give these guys a game. You've got to play them, because what happens if Varane gets injured again? And Martinez gets injured or Shaw gets injured. You've got to play these centre halves. You can't just rely on. So. It'd be interesting.
It's interesting, but again, it goes down to the point is, does Ten Hag trust his squad? And that's something I think we will learn.
We're going to learn over the next few weeks, aren't we?
Yeah, especially Europa League coming back, and the fact we have FA Cup, Carabao Cup. Like, we're the only team left in all 4 competitions. So,
Richard, I hope you're right, pal. I really do. I've just had my Carabao Cup ticket. Came in yesterday, actually.
Same. Mine came in there as well.
I had it yesterday, so.
Yeah,
but Richard, I hope you're well. I do hope you're right, but I can only see one.
Hallmarks for a tough game. When you actually look at our results at Selhurst last couple of years. Trevor, we will win one all. What an Irish saying that is. But yeah, look, as we are at that point, we will give score predictions. Stu, what are you going with the score prediction today?
I'm going to go 1-0, I'm afraid, guys, and I'm going to back old Rashi to like you say, a Weghorst flick. Rashi runs onto it, nice little dink, in we go.
Yeah. Oh. Another Rashford goal, and Greg's hosting on Friday. Woo! That'd be a great show. Do you know what, Stu? Greg has just doubled down on his Rashford he doesn't rate him, and I'm just loving it all season. I'm loving this, because every show we're coming on. What's my first question? What do you think of Rashford's performance the other night? And he has to eat his words. Look, it's respectful banter that we have over this, but respectfully, Greg, eat shit. That's respectfully eat shit. But yeah, look, he knows it's all love for it. We're really good friends.
Yeah, it's all banter. Yeah,
it's all banter. Richard says 3-1. Sean says 4-0. And yeah, Trevor says he's confident, but we trying to get into Keane's wallet. By look, to be fair, my wallet's on my phone, so I don't actually carry my wallet with me most of the time. Yeah, it's all Apple Pay now these days. But yeah, look, I'm actually going to go 2-1. I do think we'll actually concede a goal, but I do think once we score 1, we score 2, and it'll be a comfortable ending. I'm going to go Rashford, and I'd love Weghorst to score, but I don't think he will. I don't think he will. I'm going to go Rashford, and I'll go Anthony.
If Weghorst gets in, he'll net. If he gets in 1-on-1, he'll score. He's a great finisher. Yeah,
he is a good finisher. And Trevor says exactly, Keane, case in point. It's all tapping your phone now, Trevor. It's all tapping your phone. But yeah, look, I'll go 2-1. I'll go Rashford, and I'll go Anthony as well. And then John says Rashford and Fernandez to score a late goal. Oh yes, I can boil more piss on Twitter with that one.
We'll just take a win. Let's just take a win.
Stu, quick question. Quick one before we go. This point was made to me today. Is this season Bruno Fernandez's best season at Manchester United? Now, he's not getting the numbers, but an argument was made to me today, because I said no, right? And then I thought about it. And I thought about his all-round game. And I was nearly pushed to the point. What do you think? Do you think this is Bruno's best season at the club as an all-round player?
Bruno's this particular season, his intelligence level has grown. When you look at this is what I find quite funny and interesting about the way that football fans view a man of the match and view the way that player is playing. It's all about your intelligence when you play a game of football. It's all about what you do with the football, whether or not you pass it 1 yard or you pass it 20 yards or you score a 50-yard screamer or you score a tap-in. It's all relevant to the way that people view it. Now, I've seen plenty of occasions where people have gone man of the match white. Oh, did you not see his dribbling ability and all that kind of stuff? It's not all about whether or not you can dribble. It's about the whole game. And the thing with Bruno is he'll always try the Hollywood pass. Always try the Hollywood pass during the game. But his intelligence level and his overall play and his influence on the games has made it his best season. But when you actually look at it and just watch Bruno during the game and just watch him, but don't look at it through footballing eyes, just kind of look at Bruno, you'd think, nah, he's not having it. And that's why I think once you've thought about it, Keane, and you've looked at what he's done in the games, certainly recently, you're seeing the intelligence level rather than the Bruno that when he first came was making 60-yard passes all the time, making clever little runs, making clever little balls into Martial against City and things of that nature. Now he's a much more, as you quite rightly say, all-rounded player, and he's having this influence. He still
Do you agree with this? Do you agree with this?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. We didn't see it at the time when Ronaldo came back because of euphoria. And then as time went by, people were thinking, Ronaldo's a problem. And he was a massive problem, but he scored goals. He scored 20, 21 goals his first season. He scored goals. And I made a point, where are these goals going to come from? And I didn't think Rashford did step up in the summer, but he has. He has stepped up.
And he's work done and everything. And Ten Hag.
And he's replaced.
Rashford's extra work and then Benny McCarthy coming in alongside that has been instrumental.
Steve McLaren, don't ever underestimate what Steve McLaren does. He's an amazing coach. There's no coincidence that since McLaren's been back at the club, we're a much more settled team, and we're playing very, very similar to the way that we used to play under Sir Alex. Very, very difficult to beat, if you remember, under Sir Alex.
Yeah,
blistering on the counter attack under Sir Alex, and McLaren was instrumental in that period of time. He's now instrumental again. Absolutely brilliant to have McLaren back. People don't talk about him. They think about his managerial career and his England Wally with the Brolly nonsense. He's always been an excellent coach, and anyone within football will tell you he's just an amazing coach, and he's proven it again.
Yeah, and look, we've a very good coaching staff there. I think the form speaks for itself, and what Trevor says, we're a team now and not individuals. That I think on that note, we'll end it on that comment. I think that we're a team this season, not individuals, and hopefully this camaraderie that we have in the dressing room right now and the form continues. But on that note, look, thanks very much everyone for tuning in this evening. Very good comments. A lot of comments in, guys. I really do appreciate that. And don't forget to smash the video and do subscribe. Do match reaction coming up tomorrow. So we have a whole new panel of guests on tomorrow. Marcus is back and Sean is back. And also guys, the return of Shane Dowdy. Shane is coming back. Yeah, he's back on tomorrow. So yeah, we have Shane on the podcast as well tomorrow. So do check that out as well. And also on Friday, we have two special guests coming on for Manchester United vs Arsenal preview. And I have another special guest announcement as well, all to be revealed on Twitter. So do follow us at sportsarmchair_ on Twitter as well. Do a lot of interesting content coming up. And as to where Jamie is, he'll be back soon. We've been in talks for him to come back as well. Don't worry. We've all the old regulars and stuff like that are all coming back as well as new faces. So don't worry. We'll have a lot to be blasted out in the next couple of weeks. Thanks very much, Stu, for coming on as well. Great.
Yeah, enjoyed it.
Really do appreciate it. And look, as always, let's hope Manchester United go out there and get the 3 points, and let's boil a bit more boil sports, talk sport piss. Well, until then, guys, thanks very much, and we'll see you later.